guess I'll speak on one of the most shameful moments I've ever had in my life. The day I was sentenced, I had to turn around in the courtroom and look in another man's mother's eyes and try to tell her how sorry I was for taking her son's life. I can't put into words how empty I felt inside. I can't really put into words how much it hurt me to look at that man's mother and say, you know, I took something that wasn't mine to take, and yet I'm sorry. You know, it just doesn't seem like it was enough. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to ever have to feel that.
You're about to hear from people who chose poorly and to see the outcome of those choices. This isn't meant to scare you, just to show you what could be. Everyone here is just another you.
My name is C.O. Mullen. I am the sponsor of the peace group that put this video together. Clown Bay Correction Center is a level 4 or 5 facility, 5 being Supermax. This video is not about Scared Straight, not about the crimes that were committed to get in here. It's about the time that you have to do once you are in here. Anyone who thinks that 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years out of your life is not a lot, then you really need to listen to what these men are saying. There's men in here that have made more money working for 38 cents an hour in the laundry than they stole to get in here. The message that they are trying to get across is that as long as you're still on the street, you still have alternatives. Once you're incarcerated, you have none. These are probably the biggest truths that many of these men have ever spoken in their life. And for once in your life, it's time for you to listen to the bad guy.
In viewing this, outward looks can be deceiving. For the most part, it looks like a quiet school campus, but inside it's a rather loud, cold, lonely place to call home. But before we talk about how being here affects you, let's hear from some guys on how what you do affect others.
It's not about just you. When you come to prison, there's a chain of events that you don't even have the idea of, that you can't even fathom. And it destroys so many lives. This isn't the way for anybody. In here, time stops. You were forgotten about. This is real nothingness.
What you need to appreciate is family. Is what it's like to be a father, to be a man, to be a son, to be somebody's brother, sister. This here isn't what it's about, man. All of this is what I got. I wake up to this and I go to sleep to this every day. Ain't no phone calls to be made. Ain't no visits to be had. The things that were so important to me before are no longer important. The things that I thought was obsolete before are the most valuable, precious things today. When I was out there and I said, I can go visit my mom tomorrow, I gotta get this money today. Now I sit up here and beg for the day when mom can find time to come see me, but see, she's got to get her money today. She's got to pay her bills. She's got to pay the rent. She's got to take care of the family because she's out there taking care of her responsibility while I sit up in here. All the while she's reaping the sorrows and the pains and the frustrations of having her child confined, making her feel like she was a failure. You see, everything you doing out there, it don't only affect you, it affects everything around you. And when you're sitting up in here confined in these four walls, that's when your conscience starts reminding you of all the horrible things you've done and the pain and the destruction you caused in the people's life around you. It's not a beautiful thing, man.
Our friends and homies are not always positive influences in our lives, or maybe you're somebody's bad influence. Whatever the case, take a close look at what kind of choices we make because of them, and where the outcome of those will lead. Usually it's nowhere good. In the end, it's you and you alone who's responsible for your actions.
Moves that we make, man, that we choose to make are reckless. You know, it's really heading to a dead-end situation. You know what I'm saying? Or either dead, literally, or in the penitentiary, facing a life sentence like myself.
And I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about choices, consequences of those choices that we make here. In order to get you to understand kind of what I'm talking about, I have a little story that I wanted to relate to you. And it goes back in time to October the 25th, 1964. And the place is Candlestick Park in San Francisco, California. And it was an NFL game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. The crowd in Candlestick Park was cheering. 49ers were winning the ball game. They had the ball in their possession, going down the field, driving down the field, and the ball was hiked, passed off to a halfback who fumbled the ball. The crowd went silent. A defender for the Minnesota Vikings scrambled, picked up the fumble, and ran for 66 yards to the end zone. In the middle of his run, the crowd began to cheer again. He got down to the end zone, downed himself, turned around, and to his surprise, he was surrounded by a bunch of San Francisco 49ers who were slapping him on the back and thanking him for the safety that he had just given that team. He ran in the wrong direction and ended up scoring 2 points for the other team. Now I'm telling you that story because I kind of liken it to life's choices. You know, we run usually in one direction or another, and it's usually either the right way or the wrong way. This guy that picked up the ball on that field and ran in a direction, he was running with his head down full speed and couldn't wait to get where he was going. The problem was he wasn't looking. He wasn't watching where he was going. He was headed for disaster and didn't even realize it.
I know a lot of people look at TV and videos and think that everything is all glitz and glamour, but after they yell cut on the tape, this is reality right here. The four walls, the sink, the toilet, family if you're fortunate enough to have some, a couple friends or whatever you want to call them in here, and a lonely jail cell, man. This ain't no fun.
No, this ain't no fun. You guys can relate to our story more than anything. We, from broken families, our mother and father was never there at the same time. The one that was there was using some type of intoxicant, you know, so we took to the streets thinking that was the way out. You know, you're home, you got my homies is gonna watch my back, but when the time came and we committed these crimes, there was nobody here but us. Now we're sitting here in this little room. This room's not even fit for a kid to live in, and we have two grown men living in the cell. It's not fun at all. We got friends in here that never going home. They're gonna spend the rest of their life in prison. Luckily, that I did my crime when I was 19 years old. Today I'm 31 years old. That's 12 long years.
That's it, man. That's the reality. That's our reality. 3 house in the cot, like they say, man. 3 meals every day. It's bologna and cheese sandwich for lunch, man. And this is not, I wouldn't recommend this for anybody. You know, I wouldn't recommend the streets. I wouldn't recommend any of the negativity. I know a lot of people tell you that because people told me that, and they went in one ear and out the other. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. And they were steady telling me, you're going to end up in prison. You're going to end up in prison. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen to me. You know why? Because I'm slicker than you, or I know the streets a little better than you. And I'm going to tell you, man, I might have been one of the slickest cats out there, man, or thought I was. But when it comes down to it, your friends ain't your friends, and the streets don't love you like you think they do.
No.
I want you to look around, man, at all your closest friends, man, and anytime you get ready to do something with them, know that it's only two things gonna happen. Either they're gonna work with the police, or they're gonna be right next to you, or they're gonna be dead.
At some point, the men you're hearing from all missed good opportunities for education or some kind of career and a positive future. The one thing they all have in common is the regret of missing the chances of a good life. Remember, we were just like you. Don't end up like us, wishing we could change our past.
You know, I'm telling you, prison's not the place to be. You miss everything. You miss all your family. I have kids. I've had to watch them grow up from prison. It's not a good thing.
You know, coming in the penitentiary, this is really not a rite of passage to manhood. Regardless of what you may think and feel, regardless you may think this is gangster, you know, this is not cool, this is not gangster. You know, all the cats that I know up in here, you know what I'm saying, that claim gangster, you know, wish, you know what I'm saying, they would never, you know what I'm saying, let them words pass their mouth, you know, and just would have lived a square life. And would have tried to be there, you know what I'm saying, for their family and out there with their loved ones. You know, right now we're missing in action. This is no place that you want to be. This is no rite of passage.
Keep going down the path you're on, and you'll be living the same life these next few guys are going to talk about. Good chances are you could be living it with them. Listen to them, and remember, they're not your parents or your teachers, but your future friends, enemies, or cellmates.
And I don't know who you are sitting out there looking at the video and where you're at, what kind of position that you find yourself in. But from my perspective, looking out at what I was and what I am now, and this is for you to see, to understand the reality of what you may one day come to see if you choose to come here into this place. This is the place of no games, no friends, you trust nobody. All you got in this life, once you walk through these doors, then it's all about everybody telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I've been sitting here in the IMU for the past 23 months now, hoping to get out soon on lockdown, 23 hours a day, 1 hour exercise, 5 days a week. 2 days a week I sit in my cage pacing with nothing. But when you come here, you're going to meet all kinds of people like me. And you're going to meet people worse than me. And everybody who approaches you is going to have an ulterior motive behind what they say and what they do. Nobody is coming up to you to be nice just to be nice. Sure, you're going to find an occasional friend here or there, somebody that you know from the street, and you're going to want to click with them, yeah. But remember something, behind it all, he's got a plan for you. Ain't nobody your friend up in here. You can't trust nobody. And you need to understand this. You need to understand that once the door closes behind you, you get on that big gray bus. They put those waist chains around you and you hit receiving. It's a new ball game. Everything you was don't matter. Everything you did don't matter. It's what you're going to do now. Now that the door's closed behind you and you fend for yourself.
See, I landed myself here, you know, due to a reckless lifestyle that I chose to live, and probably similar to one that you're going through right now. It starts off as, you know, disobeying your parents, wanting to be grown, thinking you're grown, and wanting to do your own thing, and it leads to hanging out with crowds that, you know, you're better off, you know what I'm saying, without, you know what I'm saying, even hanging around with, and it leads to you messing with drugs and, you know, just hanging out there. And that's basically, you know what I'm saying, where it all begins. Then you find yourself on a path, you know what I'm saying, that you don't recognize, which is the path of destruction, and end up in places like the prison.
Growing up in prison, it's not a fun thing to do, you know. I've lost girlfriends, I've lost friends, family members don't talk to me anymore. It's so many things that you can lose and you don't even think about it. You take everything you have for granted right now. I did when I was on the streets. I was out there running around, trying to sell drugs, trying to be a little hoodlum. And yeah, it was fun at the time, but the consequences of my actions aren't fun. I fell for murder. I stabbed a really good friend of mine to death. You know, I regret it every day of my life. Every day when I wake up, I think about him, everything, you know, everything that led up to what happened and everything that's, you know, happened after my actions. So I just want to let you guys know that this isn't a very cool place to be. And if I could be in your shoes right now, I'd heed my advice and stop screwing around. Stay in school. School's important. I wish every day that I would have been able to finish high school. You know, I failed when I was in 11th grade, just started 11th grade. Was barely going to school. They thought I was, you know, hot shot. I'm not.
Be smart and use this as a crystal ball and see in your future, and this is not what you want to see yourself in this type of situation. So reverse it. The only way you can do that is to stop what you're doing, think about what you're doing, and stop.
If you feel like that's the way you want to live, or you're okay with that, you're okay with 8:30 lockdown and 6 o'clock breakfast and nobody to really talk to or nobody to turn to, then sure, man, come on in, man. They got a lot of space for you, a lot of bed space. You can have my bed, man, because I ain't going to be here. But if you don't want to go that way and you want to live a positive life and you want to hang out with your friends and you want to just do the things that normal people do in society, then don't do.
Everyone involved in this hopes you got something positive out of it. Maybe it will change the way you think about where you're headed, or at least pause before making a bad choice. Here are our last few words on what these men hope you get out of watching this.
You know, I really want to reach, you know what I'm saying, really it's my mission to really reach behind this camera right here, you know, and deal with one of you young cats in hopes to turn y'all in a direction, man, where you can see your future a little bit more brighter and that this ain't it.
I just want you guys to think about the choices that you have right here, right now, at this point in time. Take that into consideration and which way you're going to run with that ball. Hopefully, you guys can get into a system that helps better yourself. I'm telling you, life is not happening in here. Life is happening out there. Make wise decisions. Do what you got to do to get back into the groove, to get your education, which is so important.
If you have action at changing your life before it happens, if you knew that 10 years down the line that you were going to spend your next 20 years in prison, that would be an opportunity to change your life. You know what's going to happen. There's no way out of it. Either you're going to be dead or you're going to be in prison. My mother used to tell me that every day.
Them was the only two choices, man. I didn't believe it, man. I'm telling you, this is real from the bottom of my heart, man. This is real, man, and this is not, man, it's
concrete right here.
This is concrete, man. This is bunk beds. This is hard, what is this, metal?
This is
steel. You can't get through this, man. This is it. This is jail, and I don't recommend this for anybody. Like I said before, man, I encourage you to do something with your life, man, and I know that sometimes it may be stressful, school, homework, but it's worth it, man. All that's worth it to get forward in society, man. Everything's worth it, man, because this right here is not worth it. This is real, though. This is a part of life that you go through if you make the wrong decisions.
Yes.
My name is Mike. I've been here since I was 15 years old. I'm 35 years old now. So I'm another you. I know exactly what you're going through. So I'm here to tell you that this is not what we want. This is not the place to be. I was involved in a robbery that went wrong and somebody's life was taken. Now I'm paying the price for that. I was doing nonsense things because I was hurting inside. I was angry and I didn't know how to reach out. You don't want to be here. My only contact to the outside world is through pictures, through letters. Visits are very rare. and you just miss your family. You're forgotten about sometimes in here. Don't let this happen to you. To lose your life is something that you do as a kid. Right now, I know to you, we live for the moment, just for the day. We don't think about what's going to happen in the long run. But it's important that you try to. You know, think about your actions. What's it going to cause? Being in a gang, that don't do nothing for you, but give you the false sense of security that you think that you need and that you want. You have to reach out to those who are reaching out to you to help you. It's not going out doing drugs, smoking marijuana, drinking, any of that. That's going to get you here also. It's not so much as that it's hard in here as far as violence, but it's the emotional that you have to deal with. That's what's hard. You lose contact with friends, or friends forget about you. People in your life pass away, such as family members. You can't even go see them. Your visits is far and in between. You may think that you have it hard now, but when you come here is when it's really hard. Being in here has been my life for the last 20 years. I can't express to you how hard it's been to be away from my family. I have a brother I never seen. Sisters I haven't seen since I've been locked up in 1987. And I don't want to see this happen to any of you. And that's why I'm speaking to you today. One act caused me to lose my life. I'm doing a life sentence right now, a life without the possibility of parole. I've lost every appeal. That means I'm never to see the streets again. Never to have that opportunity to be a father to a family, to be a husband, to do things in life that grown people do. I've never had a job. I never got to drive a car. Things that we take for granted, I never had the opportunity to do. Never had a prom. Those are things that you know that all kids should be able to go through and be able to do in their life. But those are things that I missed out on. And I don't want you to miss out on the same thing. This right here is you don't get a stripe for this. You don't get no recognition because you came to prison or you came to jail. It's nothing to be proud about. You know, you're put into a cell, you're told when to eat, told when to lock up, told when you could go to yard. These little things to us mean so much in here, which are nothing out there. You don't want to be told what to do every day in your life. So I'm asking you to look at your life, to turn your life around. And I'm hoping that this could just reach just one of you with the wish that it can reach all of you. I mean, I feel so much inside, so many emotions, that it saddens me to be here speaking to you like this, wishing that I could speak to you in person to try to save you, to help you in any way I can. Never give up on yourself. Never stop believing that things could be better. So I ask you, turn your life around now while you have that chance.
And I hope that you hear my pleas, because this is not the life that you want to live. As I said, I know what you're going through because I've been there. I'm exactly what you don't want to happen to you.
You know, there are two things you have in common with these men. First, at some point, they were all just another you. Second, like you, they never thought they would be where they are now. They thought they were too tough, too slick, too smart. Pretty much what you're probably thinking right now. It's our hope, though, that in the future, when you're in a situation that could lead to our reality, that you think about what these men have said. And if you choose poorly, well, we'll be here waiting for you. But before we go, there's one more you should really hear.
Prison doesn't affect you the way you think it might. Sometimes it sneaks in the back door on you. The fact is that prison isn't that bad, you know. It's survivable. You can make it through. But sometimes the people you care about, your family, your friends, they can't survive it. Prison has a way of breaking the people around you, breaking those relationships that really mean something to you. I'll give you an example. My father came and visited me whenever I was in county jail awaiting trial. We talked for a while, and then he hit me with this one. He looked me right in the eyes, and he said, "Son, I love you, but I hope they give you the electric chair." You see, prison, my being in prison, had broken my father. He didn't know how to deal with it. He found suddenly that he hated me, that he feared me, that he just wanted me to go away. And I did. I went away for a long time. And I'm still gone. And I'll never be back. I haven't spoken with him in over 10 years now. And I probably never will again. In contrast, my mother, who was divorced from my father at the time, she stuck by me through the whole thing. She visited me, wrote me letters, let me call her on the phone. She was with me through this whole thing. And that's what broke her. I used to call her once a week on the weekends. And she'd just sit there and cry. And it got to the point where I had to stop calling her as often because I didn't want to make her feel bad. I didn't want to depress her. Eventually, she moved back east with her mother, my grandmother. She had her room with all my pictures up on the wall, and she'd just sit in there and she'd cry. It eventually got to the point where they put her in an insane asylum. I know that's not what they call it now. It's some politically correct term like clinic for the emotionally distraught or whatever, but that's where they put her. See, my mother couldn't deal with the fact that her only son was a killer, a murderer, and was in prison for the rest of his life. Now, while in there, they put her on medication and got her therapy and group sessions and things like that. but she didn't get better. Eventually, they gave her electroshock therapy. That's where they put electrodes on your head and turn on the juice. It's a controlled concussion. It's manufactured brain damage. And it made her better. A little, I guess. I called when she got out of the hospital. And I talked to my grandmother for a while. She said that my mom was doing much better. She'd shaken the depression. And she handed my mother the phone, and I could hear on the other line my grandmother say, "Here, talk to your son." And I could hear my mom on the other end of the line distantly said, "Whose son?" And I heard my grandmother say, "Your son. Remember all the pictures I showed you?" And I heard my mom laugh. And she said, "That's so cool. I have a son?" Will you survive prison? Yes, you probably will. Will your family survive you being in prison? They might not. And if that's the case, you may find yourself one day in here, very much alone.